Hey, what's up? You're with the SIP Show 2PG podcast.
Whoa, what is that? Is that
Ta.
new? It's definitely new. We've never done this before.
Yeah, this is so awkward. This is
Awkward
is
and
weird.
fascinating. Okay, reframe. That's the theme to go with this decade. Reframe things. So it's weird and nerve-wracking a little because this is our first cross podcasting podcast episode. 2PG, Dua Perempuan Gila podcast, the Sip Show with Egan. And we are where, Egan? Oh my God, even the place is like...
Okay, this place is equally weird.
in a good way.
In a good way. We are in
Fascinating,
Rhythms
That's the
of
word.
Rimba 2024. It's happening here in Rainforest. Kenapa? I always forget the name.
Rainforest Discovery Center, Sepilok, Sandakan.
We're in Sandakan.
It's
Is
the place to be.
it's so surreal here.
Even
You-
this Canadian guy sitting here is
Yeah.
impressed with the
I
works
am
that is
very
around here.
impressed.
Yeah,
It's
who is-
fantastic.
Yeah.
Introduce.
Okay. So, yeah, siapa ni? Who's this guy, right?
Who is this
So
guy?
we are honored. Actually, we are honored to be given this opportunity and trust to interview one of Borneo Rhythms of Rimba 2024's guests here at the RDC Sandakan, and this is Mr. Robert Bissett, the acting
Hello.
High Commissioner of Canada to Malaysia.
Yes, thank you, Amy, thank you, Egan. It's wonderful to be here.
Thank you. It's so formal. Can we call you something else?
Yeah, call me Rob.
Rob.
Yeah, fantastic.
Rob Thomas.
Everyone.
Rob from
I
Canada.
don't know if I've ever been good enough. If I ever been.
That's all right.
Just to break the ice,
Yeah,
right?
that's all right. All good.
Because, so acting High Commissioner, it all
Yeah.
sounds so politically correct, right?
And it is politically correct.
Politically
but
correct.
yeah, no, I'm here as a friend of the festival.
Yeah.
And the Canadian High Commission is very proud to be able to contribute and to support the efforts. And just fantastic to be here in Sandakan. It's my first opportunity to visit this wonderful city and to have a chance to come to the Rhythms of Rimba Festival. Fantastic. Great to
How
be
do you
here.
find Sandakan?
Oh, it's amazing. It's always nice to bust out of KL. I've got to tell you, I've been living in that city for 2 years. And to get out and to visit, East Malaysia here is fantastic. Really nice. Thank you very much.
To be surrounded
I
by...
hope you like our studio for today.
The studio is beautiful. Look where we are, eh? Yeah.
It's made and designed by
Yeah.
Mother Nature.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do this podcast and then go for a walk around and see what this place has to offer. It's great.
That's a
That's
must.
nice.
Definitely.
We notice your T-shirt is something,
yeah.
and
so,
it relates to the first question that we're gonna ask you.
okay. Yeah,
And
sure.
This
We were having an off the record conversation just now before we started, and then Rob here was Rob. I can't believe I'm calling the acting High Commissioner of Canada Rob by his first name and then shortened.
first
Yeah,
name
yeah.
basis.
That's
Yeah,
good.
First name basis Rob. Bukan lagi first name, home name basis. Right? So we were having a conversation and asking, and Rob was telling us about this T-shirt he's wearing. It's very special.
Yeah.
And we're gonna find a way how to connect that
Yes.
to why we are here, to why we are at this,
Sure.
why Rhythms of Borneo Rimba is still happening even after its 5th edition, and even after all the trouble of the organizers, Future Alam Borneo.
Yeah, well, let me
Bless
step
you.
in here, Amy, and try and help you out, right? So, the Canadian government, we are a big supporter of sustainable development, and we are also home to a large indigenous population.
Yes.
And so the timing of your invitation was good for us because on September 30th, it's a special day where we commemorate our indigenous peoples, and we think that the indigenous population have a incredible role to play when it comes to sustainability. A peaceful, a more prosperous, and a sustainable world could not be achieved without our indigenous peoples being involved in that and participating. So we are here, and I am wearing an orange shirt to commemorate what was originally called Orange Shirt Day, but is now called the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation.
Wow.
And it is a a day where we commemorate a painful legacy of the residential school system in Canada. And it's a day where we honor the residential school survivors and their families.
What was the story there? Maybe we can listen to a brief.
It's a story that goes back to our colonial past, where the children were brought off out of their homes and their families and brought into a school system. But often that great tragic loss, families were broken up, languages were lost, and cultures were oppressed. And so it's a bit of a troubled past, but our government is committed to honoring
it.
and commemorating this, and to reforming our dialogue with our Indigenous people, to enter into a dialogue to find solutions and to find a path forward.
I'm having goosebumps.
I'm having goosebumps.
Yeah, it's a bit
like,
heavy, sorry,
It's
but
yeah.
it's necessary that we honor those survivors and bring that up. Have a
Yeah,
dialogue
and
about it.
I think we're having goosebumps because Egan and I, both being born in Sabah, raised in the Sabah ecosystem, and the narratives that we were taught in schools compared to the narratives that we learned to discover on our own when we're adults, talking to people from everywhere, people who know more, people who know deeper about Sabah's history, Sabah's real history. And I think I can safely say that there's a lot of unresolved trauma regarding
we need this reconciliation.
We need,
Yeah.
I think that's why we're having goosebumps
Yeah.
because what you
we
just
want that.
because what you just described to us is probably something that we as citizens of Sabah, Malaysia, has been yearning for from the people who colonized us for decades,
Yeah.
if not centuries. So.
Yeah, no, it's a great point that you're making, and there's a really good, interesting synergy between our two countries. And we
Yeah,
recognize that both Malaysia and Canadian have a proud Indigenous culture,
Roots,
one that we
yeah,
need to celebrate, but one that we also need to acknowledge that there's been some troubles in the past, and we need to get forward.
True. Yeah.
So this National Day of Truth and Reconciliation is a call to action. It's a call for dialogue. It's a call for all Canadians to not only become aware of our past, but to get involved in trying to solve a way forward and bringing the Indigenous communities out to talk and giving them a platform to celebrate their culture.
When was this day established?
We are in our fourth year now. As I said, it originally started as Orange Shirt Day, but our government has now declared it a day of holiday.
Renamed it.
And on September 30th, all Canadians will celebrate, or not celebrate, it's not the right word, but
Commemorate.
to commemorate
Yeah.
what has happened, and to try and take part in looking forward, moving past. Yes.
If I may ask, what has taken the Canadian government the realization to commemorate this day, to create this day?
Yeah, so again, it's just should we? Are we good to go?
You're good to go.
Good to go?
Here we go.
Shit happens.
All good.
No worries.
So no, it's to recognize the incredible value and role that the Indigenous communities have to play. Here we are in Borneo in a celebration of sustainable development, and who better to contribute to a more sustainable environment than the Indigenous communities? They have a rich generational knowledge of sustainable development of the land, their relationship with the land. One they could argue that they've had this sustainable model throughout their life, throughout the generations. And so it's ancestral. So they have a rich experience, a great knowledge, and so they can contribute to our sustainable development, especially when we're facing industrialization and we're busting into areas like, look where we are, the Borneo rainforest being cut down and for progress. But we need to have that voice at the table, and we need to have them contribute to that dialogue.
Yeah. Because, like you said, there's a lot of connection. There's a lot of relation
Yeah, a little bit about
in
eco-business, my
our
publication.
history, in the narratives of our roots, right? And where we
We've been
come
going
from.
since 2009.
And
So we've been around a long time, but it's been a really
I think I've
big
spoken
slog
this to you
to
off
get
camera
people
just now.
interested
Yeah.
in
It's
sustainability,
frustrating
get people interested in the
because we
environment.
keep saying that
Over
Sabah
these
has a lot of
years.
potential. Sabah has a lot of
Now,
potential.
one thing that did
cool,
help us was
right?
the
But
pandemic.
it's
So the
2024.
COVID-19 pandemic
And Sabah still
really
has we're still there. So like,
ignite
why are we not?
interest in sustainability.
Why are we not
Ignite
there at
interest.
our potential? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Always, I don't know, two steps,
know it's
5
there,
steps
but
back.
we're not really doing anything.
We're there. We have the potential, but
Yeah.
it's not really happening. Well, at least in the way that our communities have
Thank you.
grown.
Yeah. So this is just a
Like
chart
say,
that
for
shows,
example, it's 2024.
growth of ecosystems
We have a lot of
recently.
potential in
And
the
that
arts
growth
and
has
entertainment
become,
and
as I said,
sustainability
from,
and
Right.
environment. A lot of people already have this awareness
really ignited,
of
really
the
forced
importance of
businesses to
sustaining
care
and putting in the work
about
to
environmental and social issues.
keep this knowledge alive.
Yeah.
Now, more and more
But
companies we've
at
noticed
the
that
governance
they've
level,
started to respond
right, at the governance
to
level, at a
environmental
bigger
and social issues.
scale
They've at
of
least tried to start
overseeing
measuring the
things,
impact
things
that they
like
have on environmental
flooding,
society.
things
Like
like
ecosystem.
clean water.
So our publication
And
helps to navigate.
I've always thought about this. Like we
the
live in
world of
such a
sustainability, which
tropical
essentially
country. We're rich
sustainability
with
means
all of this
leading the world.
ancestral wisdom that we know how to
So our
sustain
job
life
Right,
naturally.
right.
is to
And
tell
yet,
the
how are
story
we?
of
How
the
are we struggling
challenges
with
and
basic
risks
needs like
that
water
business
when
Yeah.
but also
and
the impact
flooding?
that businesses
So
Yeah.
what's wrong there?
So I think globally we're all facing these challenges, whether it's climate change. In Canada right now we're suffering from wildfires that are hitting communities and even large cities, and we're really struggling with that. But we feel that there is a real role for these indigenous communities to play in addressing some of this sustainable development. Again, due to their experience and deep knowledge of the land, but they've also been working with the government in terms of putting in policies and practices that can address some of these issues. So in Canada, we are working with some of these communities and some municipal governments composed of indigenous leaders to address flooding. We have floodplain mapping where we identify these risk areas, and we begin at the community to begin planning for potential ways to avoid and take adverse action. We have
Closely with communities when you're doing this?
we do. We have to work closely with the communities. So, yeah.
People accept, because here,
finally water
in specifically in
this is
Sabah,
something that companies
Yeah.
it's done by the government.
Uh-huh.
People would have some kind of a doubt.
Reclusivity.
Okay.
I'm not sure about this
It's a
thing.
trust issue thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Does it work? Well, I mean, I don't know if we've found the complete perfect solution just yet, but it's in utmost importance to involve the community at the ground level if you're going to talk about sustainable development, whether it's flood issues. In Canada, we have fresh water, drinking water issues that completely come around, and those affect the community. So without their involvement, it's going to be very difficult to find a sustainable and durable solution. So what we do is bring them in, and in fact our government has made a policy and enacted laws that says they must be at the table. There must be a room for them to be at the table. And if we're going to do an environmental assessment, they have a role to play. And so we've put in some laws that require this for environmental assessments, but also policies that get the community leaders involved. And we're fortunate that the communities need to rally. It's their livelihood. It's their lives that are affected. Wildfire comes, everybody has to pitch in. So we've been successful in some areas where we've got a great cooperation at all levels. So, yeah.
And I think there's also the challenge of
in Europe.
balancing between what we call or what we see as development,
Yeah.
industrialization, modernization,
Yeah.
and then so how does the Canadian government balance that? Because I know this, I can only imagine the struggle of being a politician in a country where
Yeah.
they're strongly rooted in the indigenous
Yeah.
beliefs and practices,
Yeah.
right? So how does that?
So it's a struggle for us as well, and I'd be remiss to say that we figured it out, because we haven't quite figured it out. We're still trying. We have our first Indigenous premier, who's just been elected in a groundbreaking move. So one area is to get them involved in politics, because you need all levels of government, and you need the resources. So you need money to tackle these problems, right? So, but you can also enact laws and get the government to be responsible, and to deal with. You brought up, Amy, land issues. Boy, this is a real issue for us, as it is for many nations, and we have many treaties and many land claims that remain unsolved. But we have had success in some areas where some land claims have been settled, and we do that by bringing in the Indigenous communities and all of the different players in the community. So we still have some work to do, but I think it's been somewhat successful.
At least something. I was thinking as you were explaining that nobody knows what you're doing. Everybody's just trying.
Everybody's trying. Yeah.
Their best.
Yeah.
The best with whatever we have and we know. So I think I'm really interested in knowing how do we start replicating, emulating that maybe here as lay people who are not in the government, we're not in politics. So
Well, I think
how can we contribute as probably our
yeah.
media?
I guess when the government or people in power are doing so much, and Indigenous people, the communities, grassroots people are feeling left out, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
That I think taken for granted,
Yeah.
And now with
utilized,
what
we
they're
feel
doing,
utilized, capitalized, probably.
yes. And now with this, they're giving you are giving them a part in them to have a say in what other plannings are.
We are. I think that's a fundamental part of the solution. They have to govern themselves. They have to be autonomous. And so one of our key government policies is to give them rights, their own rights, give them autonomy, and to recognize their land rights. It's a long, difficult process, but our government is committed to retransforming its relationship to allow the Indigenous voice to be heard, but also to govern themselves and to figure out what's the best way forward for themselves. So that has been a key measure.
What would you say is the most important thing to allow for this kind of process to even begin between the government and the Indigenous people?
Yeah.
People.
So I don't know if I have the answer to that question, but Egan did point out that if they don't feel involved, if they don't feel their voice is being heard, then they're not going to participate. So you need to create the environment where they feel that their input is included. So we do, as a government, create inclusive environments, inclusive laws and policies that bring them to the table, and hopefully they will feel comfortable to come and speak out. We have a lot of Indigenous activists, and to get to your point, Amy, how could Malaysia and Canada advance and cooperate? We had originally tried to bring over one of our Indigenous land activists to participate in this festival, and he did visit Borneo a couple of years ago. And so we got to bring these communities together, and they're probably the best people who can figure this out and go forward. So we as a government can facilitate and maybe provide some resources to bring them together. Yeah. Inspirational success stories. Podcasts like this where we can just discuss the problem. This is maybe the first step to raise awareness and get people involved.
Yeah, I like that because I think we're breaking down a lot of norms in the way that we were talking about this.
Yeah.
I mean, from government person with media, right? Independent media. So yeah, and of course you would agree, because I see the way the Canadian government are doing things is to make room for acceptance.
Yeah.
Admit your bullshit.
Yeah.
right? And
Yes.
then we can make true progress from there.
Yeah, and this gets back to the commemoration of the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. We admit and we acknowledge that there's been mistakes made in the past, and we need to confront those before we can go forward. Those grievances are real, and they're damaging, and we need to start there for the healing to begin. You know, so I think that's an important issue. Yeah. So.
It's nice to have a government that listens to you rather than just spoon feeding you with things that they think you need.
Yeah.
I just want a disclaimer. My company, because
Yeah.
But I think it's
It's respect. Yeah.
basic respect for another human being. It's dignity to
Dignity. Absolutely. Keywords.
know what's best for them.
Yeah.
yeah,
To trust that the indigenous people know what's best for them instead
Yeah.
of us telling them
Yeah.
what's good for them. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We must learn from the mistakes we've made in the past for us to go forward. Absolutely. Yeah.
I would say, I'm always saying this: true healing cannot begin unless true forgiveness,
Right.
which takes true acceptance of it.
Yeah.
If it's tahi lah. Tahi is shit. Sorry, I'm bringing my 2PG vibe into your sip show.
Sip sip is like this.
Friendly, right?
No.
Children that swear. So anyway,
Yeah.
do we have any? You wanna?
I'm filled.
Yeah, I'm thrilled. That was very
Good.
holistic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's great to get an opportunity to have this discussion, and we seized upon the opportunity when you invited us out to have this discussion. So I hope it's relevant, and I hope you have enjoyed it. I mean, it's an opportunity for us to discuss a difficult topic, but it's such a beautiful opportunity. We couldn't pass it up. It's wonderful to be here, and Canada is happy to be able to contribute to this festival. And I'm going to follow this podcast. I'm going to go out and enjoy myself and take a look around. So thanks very much for the opportunity. It's been wonderful. Yeah.
Enjoy the nature. It's really, really good to be around tall trees instead of tall buildings for once.
Exactly. Okay. Thanks so much. Thanks, Amy. Thank you again.
We always say, "Sampai jumpa lagi." Till we'll meet again.
Okay. Thank you again. Cheers. Bye-bye. Thank you.
So this has been what is this?
Brief but complete.
finally, I just want to talk about
Brief but whole.
difficulty of reporting about sustainability.
2PG podcast ROR special episode thing.
With the acting High Commissioner of Canada.
What she said.
I don't think she's
Cheers. Thank you. Okay. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.